All right, so let's look at the gonads next. So genetic sex governs the development of gonadal sex of the individual, which regulates the development of the phenotypic sex, so what the individual looks like. This is how it is most of the time. Now, I'm not going to get into all the ways that this may not work out the way I'm going to talk about here, but there are ways that it can work out, not how I'm going to lay it out here. So, determination of sex. The genetic sex is determined by the sex chromosomes. Females are XX, males are XY. So males determine the sex of the offspring, because in meiosis, when you make a gamete, the females are either going to give off an X or an X in their egg. Males are going to give off either an X or a Y. If they give off an X, the offspring is female. If they give off the Y, the offspring is male. Now let's look at gonadal sex. So the XY primordial gonads start to produce what is known as the HY antigen. This in turn causes the primordial gonads to become testes. The lack of an HY antigen, the primordial gonad becomes an ovary. Okay, so let's look at the hormones that are released by the ovaries. One is estrogen. Estrogen is responsible for the maturation of the reproductive organs and the appearance of secondary sex characteristics at puberty. Progesterone with estrogen promotes breast development and the cyclical changes in the uterine mucosa, so the menstrual cycle. Testes of the male, are going to produce testosterone. This causes the maturation of reproductive organs and secondary sex characteristics, as well as sperm production. All right, now let's switch off and look at hormones secreted by our gastrointestinal tract. So the location of these are found in the mucosal cells along the entire gastrointestinal tract. So one is gastrin. Gastrin causes gastric acid secretion, as well as gastrointestinal growth and gastric mucosal motility, movement of the stomach mucosa, so the lining of the stomach. It's stimulated by food and autonomic control, where we can smell food, or by the distension of the stomach, so stretching of the stomach. Next is secretin. This is by the small intestine. This increases pancreatic bicarbonate secretion. So when food leaves our stomach, it's pretty acidic, and so it goes from there into our small intestine, and so we secrete this bicarbonate to neutralize that acidic food from the stomach. Next is cholecystokinin, or CCK. This is also produced in the small intestine. It causes the contraction and emptying of the gallbladder, which is bile, and it stimulates the pancreatic enzymes. It also stimulates pancreatic enzyme secretion. Next is gastric inhibitory peptide, or GIP. This inhibits gastric secretions and stimulates insulin secretion. Next is vasoactive intestinal peptide, VIP. This stimulates smooth muscle relaxation, increases blood flow, stimulates secretion of enzymes that break down lipids and carbohydrates, and causes insulin secretion as well. Next is somatostatin. Somatostatin inhibits gastrin secretion. And lastly is villikinin, and it stimulates villus movement and lymph flow. So villi are these small little projections of the small intestine, and they increase surface area of the small intestine, and by getting the movement, there's more contact between those and the food. Let's look at some other structures. So our heart, not shown, but our heart secretes atrial natriuretic hormone, which we've already talked about, has the opposite effects of aldosterone. It's going to cause us to decrease our blood pressure. Next is the placenta. Our placenta secretes estrogen and progesterone, and also another hormone called human chorionic gonadotropin. Human chorionic gonadotropin inhibits menstruation, because if menstruation were to occur, you would shed the endometrium, the inner lining of the uterus, and you would lose the pregnancy. Next are kidneys. Kidneys secrete renin, as I mentioned before. Renin then causes the secretion of aldosterone, which increases our blood pressure. Our kidneys also secrete erythropoietin, and erythropoietin causes our red bone marrow cells to produce more red blood cells. All right. Next, our skin. Our skin produces cholecalciferol, which is an unactivated vitamin D. This is made when cholesterol is exposed to ultraviolet light. It still needs to go to our kidneys and be activated though. Lastly, here is adipose tissue. Adipose tissue produces leptins, and leptins are released following the uptake of glucose and lipids. And then our leptins are going to go to our central nervous system, and they're going to produce a sensation of non-hunger or satiety, and also increase energy expenditure. So it's nice to get that feedback after we eat saying, hey, I'm no longer hungry.